Welcome back, Keepers. This is another episode with Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul, but we have a very, very special guest. Imagine being 26 and creating an app that's redefining how the world runs, literally. Louie Phillips is the co-founder and CEO of INTVL, a fitness and running platform that's exploding globally, not just because of the tech, but because of how he sort of tells a story about it. Today, we're picking his brains on what every leader can learn from a generation that builds a community and not campaigns, and knows how to make digital content feel really human, which is just so important these days. We'll be asking Louie about what it's like to be an influencer and how does that even happen to someone. And did he ever think as a kid who struggled at school that he would end up being written about in the Financial Review and running a multi-million-dollar company and walking around half naked on Big Brother? Yes, he did that. His mother always said that he would end up running the country or end up in prison. And if you're wondering if Louie Phillips is any relation to Jack Phillips, my co-host, then wonder no more, because Louie is in fact Jack's son. So we might even find out what it's like having Jack as a mum, although I think we could probably all imagine what that's like. So Louie, welcome to Keeping It Real. We're thrilled you're here to teach us how to move further, faster, and most importantly, how to keep it real. Welcome, Louie.
Thanks for having me on. Glad to be part of this. Finally.
I remember when I first started, we started this podcast, I said to Jack, we could actually do a podcast with the kids and a podcast with the parents. And she went, no, we're not doing that. And here we are.
We'll take the spotlight.
Speaking to Jack's favourite son.
That's true. That is very true.
We'll take that. I'd argue favourite sibling.
Your favourite sibling. Maddie. Hopefully Maddie doesn't listen. Louie, I when we suggested this, we like to get people in, and I know probably for anyone maybe over 40 is going, what the hell is an influencer? So I would love to find out how you became an influencer, what you're doing now, and how did that all happen? Because Jack sort of has mentioned previously that the academic system didn't suit you, and it's like I said in the intro, you were either going to be running the country or in prison. So how does a boy like that become a man like you are now?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of a long process of events that all just kind of fell into perfect timing. I guess I came out of school, not sure totally exactly what I wanted to do. I said I wanted to go to uni. Mum and Dad were like, just settle down on that. Let's think it through first. They encouraged me to go on a gap year, which I was probably the only person, particularly in my cohort, that was encouraged to go on a gap year. But I did it. I went to the south of France. I worked on yachts as a deckhand, and then kind of came back from that and enrolled myself in uni doing agribusiness. And at that kind of time, I started a business with a mate. It was called 9 to 5 Fitness. And the goal of it was kind of some fitness programming alongside some apparel. I was managing the apparel. He was managing the fitness programming. And we always said we never want to be in front of the camera. Like, we don't want our faces to be part of this business. We want it to be all about the product. And we learned really quickly how impossible that is to do in this day and age, where people are subscribing to personal brands and kind of buying into the individuals more so than the actual product, obviously. So then we learned, all right, we've got to start putting ourselves in front of the camera and kind of putting ourselves out there. And it was always a really nice vessel to be able to do that, able to say that I'm making content, putting myself in front of it in order for the business to grow. It wasn't such like I'm doing it for myself or for my own personal gain. It was more like for the greater good, which was the business. And I guess that's where the story starts in terms of making content, or if you want to call it influencing. It's kind of a derogatory term generally, but it can be considered that, I suppose. And yeah, it's more so from the perspective of just trying to build a personal brand. And in this day and age, you've got so much more leverage and ability to grow something if you have a personal brand. So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. And look, I often say, I think part of the rise of influencers, as you such, and you're right, people often say that in a derogatory term, is that people do want to connect with people. Like, it's not about brands. They actually want to connect with people, as Jack, you would know fully well aware of.
You're on mute, Mum.
We've lost you, Jack. You're on mute. See, tell her off, Louie.
You're spot
Tell
on.
her off.
The boomer.
Come on, Boomer. Come on board, Boomer.
I'm not a boomer. I'm not a boomer.
The boomer's like the derogatory term, like, you know.
Well, indeed,
So,
talking
you know,
of ageism.
shut up, you influencer. Shut up, Boomer.
The point is the person is the brand, Raoul, right? So the two actually aren't mutually exclusive.
No. And I find myself like doing what I do. It's like you just got to get over yourself because it's not about you. It's about selling the product or the service. Even though it is mostly you, so you got to do it. So you run a podcast on it, off it. Tell us the portfolio career that makes up your life at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So I co-host a podcast, which is a little bit of fun. I do it with my mate who's a comedian, Fergus Neal, and we just kind of talk about topics we're on and topics we're off. It's like a really nice, light-hearted kind of angle for a pod. It's not too serious, and we just have a lot of fun with it. And then as well as that, I do, content online. So I'm predominantly in the running space, in the kind of fitness world, making content on Instagram and on TikTok. And that's kind of my main focus and where most of my other ventures kind of branch out from. And then the final one to that is I've got a running app called INTVL. I do that with my housemate and also business partner. And we have built that from the ground up. It's essentially a territory capture running game. So put simply, it's a game for runners. And we're going to expand that into be more into like kind of movement in general, not just running. So cycling, hiking, etc. But that's kind of my main three focuses at the moment.
Yeah. I remember when we started a TikTok account for Keeping It Real, and I wasn't following a few people, but I was following you because I didn't know many people on it. And every morning I'd check my TikTok and you would just appear half naked all the time.
Yeah, that does help. That does help the views as well. So, I mean, look.
Oh, right. Okay. So Jack and I, we need to get on that. It's like,
get half naked. Oh, my goodness.
Get half naked. Show us your tits.
Can you imagine?
Don't do that,
about
please.
Keeping it real. Keeping it
Yeah,
ugly.
not too real.
So what are some of the challenges that I guess just being, making content and putting yourself out there, there must be, you would have experienced trolls or negativity. How do you put up with that? How do you cope with that?
Yeah, I mean, so much along the way, and like hate and comments and stuff. And I think there's two ways to look at it. Firstly, you can just completely, put it aside and say, does this person just hate me for who I am? I'm never going to actually change their view. If that's the case, honestly, just move on. Don't even give it the time of day. Block, restrict. It's not even, you're never going to convince them to like you. So they're a really easy and simple one to move on from. Sometimes there is like constructive criticism or hate even. And that's the hardest one because it is a reflection of exactly what you're doing and where you're at in your social media kind of career. So yeah, in terms of dealing with it, I think it's part of it. And if you are making waves and having an impact, you are going to be annoying people. And, I think that's a really good thing. So, dealing with it has been fun. It's been interesting. I'm really lucky that I've got a great set of friends, an awesome family around me to keep it real, because I think that is really important. And you see a lot of, I've been in the game now for 4 or 5 years, which is a fairly long time for the social media. And you see people just completely lose themselves in it. And it's very easy to get this mindset of, I don't care what anyone thinks and I just do whatever I think. And those are the ones that become extremely, tough to watch. And they become so extended from just the everyday person because they have no touch on real life.
Yeah. And I think it's a good point because I think we often say, and I would say the same too, like if you're putting content out there, at one point someone's not going to like it and you just, you got to move on from that. And but it's easier said than done. And I remember once I did like his keynote. It was part of an event. There was a couple of hundred people in the room, and there was 8 speakers, and they asked for feedback after each event, and people wrote it down. And I remember I got mine, and my pile was double the size of everyone else's. And so there would have been like 150 comments about how great great I was, amazing, amazing. And then there was one that said, I don't think she quite nailed it, right? So not even particularly bad, but that started to really piss me off. And then I'd sort of keep them and you'd read them. And in the end, I had to throw them because I thought, right, stuff you, I'm putting you at the back. But that would be the last one I'd read. And in the end, I threw it out because I just thought, so, 1 in 150 and you're still thinking.
Yeah.
So it is easier said than done, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And I think as well, like it's so, we'd all like to say that like, you cop it on the chin and then you move on. To be honest, I've got a huge chip on my shoulder. I've gone to the point where I've, screen recorded and screenshotted people, dragging my running app just so that when we do make it big, I can just reflect on that folder. So I'd love to say that, it's not, it just cop it on the chin and move on. But at the end of the day, it does hurt. And when it means something to you, which the app does for me, or, the podcast and stuff, it hurts a whole lot more, but it should hurt. And I think, within reason, if you can take it on board and either use it as motivation or actually use it as constructive feedback, then you're going to be better for it.
And I think the thing to remember here is that you will not be for everyone, and that's okay, yeah? So I learned that very late in life, Louie. I think you're getting that a lot earlier, in that, there are going to be people that just, it doesn't matter what you do or say, they're not going to like you. But that's okay. Move on. You won't stand for everyone. You will stand for some.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree.
So what other challenges do you have? I mean, facing the critics. Actually, before we move on to the critics, have you got fans? Have you got people that just you're walking along and they go, "Are you Louie Phillips?"
Every now and then. I think less so these days, particularly when it was early days doing like the first business. We were like pretty heavy on TikTok. We were pumping it, and TikTok is so it's so focused in a particular area. So if you're posting in Melbourne, it's going to be delivered to everyone in Melbourne. So, we might have only had 60,000 followers, but it was 60,000 highly concentrated followers who were in one spot. So, and I was going out, drinking a fair bit at that time and enjoying my early 20s. And, the second someone has a skinful of alcohol, they're very confident to come up to you, and even if they've just seen you once. So there was definitely a time when it was a lot more, happening a lot more. But it certainly happens every now and then. And obviously I always appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Was it an increase after Big Brother because you were on Big Brother? Do you want to spend a bit of time talking about that?
Yeah, for sure. It was quite the opposite, actually. I think that I was on a season that flopped so badly that no one watched it.
And you dyed your hair too. You
had
was
the
that
dyed
deliberate?
hair.
Is that deliberate? No, it wasn't deliberate.
No,
we tried to get him to change his hair before he went on camera because we said that is going to be around forever, those awful blonde locks of yours. Go and quickly get it dyed. He didn't have long between being told he was on the show and then being flown to Sydney. I just remember this very clearly, Louie. And Louie said, no, I don't have time. That's way down on my priority list, Mum. So
I mean, I'd done the audition with blonde hair, so I think that's what they were expecting. But I think I got really lucky with Big Brother in that I got the experience of that whole process without the ramifications. There's no one really watched it. I probably didn't get the best edit. I wasn't the most lovable guy on there. Friends and family watched it. That was about it. So I got the best of Big Brother in that I got to go on it, but I didn't ruin my career because of it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Jack, what did you think? Were you when Louie goes, I'm going to apply for Big Brother, were you going, what are you doing? Or
we said, go for it. What a hoot. This will be another adventure. And if you're not winning, you're learning. He had the confidence. I remember the night before he flew to Sydney, he came up to the farm and he asked his father and I for any advice. I can't remember what I said, but his father said something incredibly intelligent as ever. And that was, just remember your values. And I thought that was really smart. And I think Louie did do that. He never embarrassed himself or us, and he got right through to the end. He was the most strategic player on there. They didn't want strategy. They actually wanted him to, be probably more real or not so strategic or not so intelligent. I'm not sure whether you've watched Big Brother, Raoul, but look, they're not hiring people who are, PhDs So, but we were really proud. And all of a sudden, Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, I think it was on 2 nights a week, became a ritual. And a whole lot of our friends got right into it. My family in Perth got right into it, where everyone gathered around to watch and see, whether we could see Lewis's pecker or not on TV.
Right.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah, there was plenty of that.
Unfortunately.
Absolutely. It must, like I said in the intro, that you like struggled academically at school. Do you have those pinch me moments where you go, like, I know Jack sent me there was a Fin Review article, and I was like, oh my God, look at you go. Do you have those pinch me moments, or are you just thinking, no, this was my plan all along. I don't know what anyone else was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes along the way, there's the odd pinch me moment. I think, things like if you have a whole, like just scrolling through the community feed on my running app, that's always a pinch me moment, in that we've got people from all over the world in one, app that was created by myself and my business partner. That's always a pinch me moment, because it's like that wouldn't have happened without, us building the app. But honestly, there's not a whole lot of time. Like this, entrepreneurial, like being an entrepreneur, doing content, there's no time to really be sitting around and looking at how well you've done, because it is so cutthroat and you'll fall off in a second. So definitely not much time for that. But yeah, I think being that, going to school, I wasn't very academically inclined. I was a little bit of trouble. I was, really struggling. I had, learning disabilities and stuff. And I think, coming out of that, at times I do look at things and go, it is working out okay. But there's still a lot of work to do. And I think the school side really put a bit of a chip on my shoulder, probably for the better, in that I really need to prove it to myself constantly. And, there's almost an element of like, you've never really done enough, and you're nowhere near where you need to be at a standard to almost prove to myself that I've got what it takes to do X, Y, Z. So yeah, I think it's the perfect concoction of events which has kind of led me to where I am right now.
Yeah. We did an episode on imposter syndrome, and Jack asked me, and the one thing I have imposter syndrome is about the title of being an author, even though I'm about to publish my 9th book. And I reckon it really comes from school, when I wasn't very good at English, and I failed English in my final year of school. And it's this whole thing. It was like, yeah, but I can write books. And then you go, but can you really? You're not an author.
Yeah.
It's like,
do you really have it though? Yeah. And that's the same for me in terms of, it's just like in the, I'm so good at delegating tasks, and particularly for things I'm not good at, in that it can get to the point where I'm like, well, hang on, did I really do that? Or was that really like done by me? So yeah, I don't spend too much time on it, but that definitely, there's a level of imposter syndrome there.
Yeah.
You never had a learning disability, Louie. There's nothing that's disabling about you. It was a learning difficulty, and it was about
spoken like a true mum.
It's true. I mean, Louie was one of the smartest kids around. The curriculum was not of interest to Lewis. He didn't find it particularly interesting. I don't think that some of the people that were teaching it were particularly engaging, and as a result, he found it easy to check out. Yet when he was interested in something, my goodness, did he go deep, and he was an expert in it. If I ever wanted any information about certain sort of fields or categories, I'd spoke to Lewis, because he knew more about it than anyone. So the importance of just keeping kids, for any of our keepers listening that have got kids, particularly boys and young men that are struggling at school, that's okay. It's about confidence and communication and creativity. Hone into those 3 things. Make sure that they've got confidence and self-belief. Make sure they know how to communicate, because that's everything, and allow their creativity to become unleashed, and they will absolutely reach and exceed their potential.
Yeah, I know. A really good friend of mine, her son's like struggles at school, like academically, but the way he communicates, his confidence, and I just go, he will be totally fine. Totally fine. Do not worry at all. He'll be like Louie, I would imagine.
Well, I thought the irony was Lewis's school that he did struggle at, asked him to come back recently. The year 11s and 12s wanted to hear from him and what entrepreneurship sort of his trajectory, and so that they could get some inspiration from that. And I thought that was a really nice sort of closeout, actually.
Hey, yeah. Hey, Louie, snap. 2 years ago, my school asked me to come back and do the graduation speech. It was like, yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling. I remember that when it clicked for me that Mum and I are probably a little bit more similar was when my school was having an intervention with me with about 15 teachers, and they were pretty much in tears about how bad I was in class. And Mum was pretty much kind of sitting there going, guys, we're not curing cancer here. Just relax. It's going to be like he's talking a little bit during Macbeth, and surprise, surprise, he's not totally interested in it. So that was kind of a moment when I realized, maybe Mum's on my side a little bit more, and maybe I'm a little bit more like Mum than the teachers that want me to be, saluting as they walk in and hungry to learn about what Romeo and Juliet had to say.
Yeah, exactly. How was your dad? Because he's a teacher. Was he as relaxed as Mum?
Yeah, I mean, look, definitely was as relaxed and as instilled so much confidence in myself, which, looking back was so important for someone like me, because I was my confidence was hit. I had no confidence in myself. I remember constantly telling myself how dumb I was and how stupid I was, just because I wasn't able to do this rote learning that all my peers were able to do. But I think, dad was probably a large reason why I was able to get through school the way I did and make it through to year 12 and do my, VCE. And I didn't do it amazingly, but I got through enough. So yeah, both Mum and Dad were incredible, and Dad was great just from the confidence perspective of constantly reminding me that I'm not an idiot, and that I just learn differently. And at the time, I remember hearing that and and thinking, yeah, I learned differently. That means I'm an idiot. Like it's pretty simple, but 1 year out of school, 6 months out of year 12, I remember it all just kind of clicking for me and being like, oh yeah, that maybe Mum and Dad were right. Like maybe I can be in the south of France on my own and able to mingle with people who are 30 and live with them and communicate and get jobs on $1 billion yachts. And maybe it's more than Macbeth.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I think I tapped out at English Lit when we were doing bloody Macbeth as well. It's like, oh my God.
Dreaming.
I was going to ask you what's the best bit and worst bit about having Jack as your mum, but it sounds like you might have.
There's no worst bit. There's no worst bit. It's all good.
You might have answered the best bit.
Yeah, she. I mean, that's also part of the best bit. Yeah, I think realizing that her and I are so similar has been nice as I get older. We're just as impatient as each other. I think as well, what you see on LinkedIn and the post Mum makes on social media and stuff, she actually lives and breathes it. And it's been awesome for my sister and I to grow up and see such a strong, powerful woman be able to lead our family, because it's easy to write a big LinkedIn post or post something on social media, as I know, but to be able to actually put that into life is really cool. An example of that is, I got to watch Mum deliver an incredible eulogy for her brother who passed away, and I think anyone who's able to do something like that, and both my sister and I and Dad were sitting there just like, wow, this is incredible, and she is as strong as she says she is, or as strong as she seems as she is online.
Oh, that's lovely. That made me all tear up then, Louie.
Oh my God, you tear up. Wow.
Yeah, shut
I'm
up.
breaking him down. The tin women.
Breaking me down. Yeah, breaking me down. Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, you've had an influence on your mum, because to get Jack to run 5 kilometres, I think it's a testament how much her, and she often talks about how much you and Maddie influence her and teach her, but I think it's an influence to how great that bloody running app is, because it got Jack off her ass and running. Mind you, I've walked with Jack a lot. She's the fastest walker ever.
She is.
And I literally
And the slowest
have
runner.
to jog. I have to jog to keep up. And when I said you could easily run, because you just need to lift your knees a little bit more and you're running at a good
You're there.
walking pace.
Oh, well, I'm the slowest runner. But look, this little baby you and Hess, Jordan Hess, who was the co-founder of INTVL, have created, is so cool, and it's so cool to watch and to follow along, because it's an MBA for me in entrepreneurship and technology, but most importantly, community. Yeah, and you've built this real community around INTVL, Louie, and it doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like belonging, yeah? And I'm part of that community, and I feel very proud of that. And I know there's a few other old girls on there as well, and it's global. How do you think brands or leaders, like the type of people that I'm coaching and that listen to this podcast, that are in their, 40s and 50s, how do you think they could learn from you and the community belonging piece when they're trying to stay relevant online?
Yeah, I think people hear the word community and just think, oh, we just, put everyone into a group and that's community. It's actually not the case. Community needs to be fun. They need to have a buddy inside the community. They need to want to be there. They need to be addicted to being part of that community. And I think a big thing, particularly for INTVL, let's say, is scrap all the shit of like just the buzzword community and whatever you think that means. Create some fun, create some enjoyment. For example, if I was to create a community again, have a Zoom call every Friday night, and to get on, you have to be having a beer, or to get on, you have to be doing something fun, or make it so it's like a little bit naughty, a little bit exciting, and something you would actually subscribe to. I think that's where, I've done run clubs in the past, and that's probably where they've fallen over, is not actually making them fun enough. And that's where you start losing members of the community, because it's like, yeah, I don't feel part of this. And like, I don't have all the answers, but, for maybe, corporates or people who are trying to build a community, it would be to steer away from whatever buzzword you think community actually is, and make it genuinely fun. Make it something that people are willing to subscribe to and they want to be part of. And to do that, it needs to be a bit naughty. It needs to be a bit exciting. It needs to feel like they're kind of part of something that is behind the curtain, and as though they're seeing an element of you or the brand that no one else is privy to. That would be my number one tip for community. And I think INTVL's done that pretty well. We've got a long way to go. And it being that it's on such a large scale, it's difficult to do that at times. But the best communities in the world are a look behind the curtain. And if you can do that, you'll seriously cut through.
Well, the best communities in the world keep it real.
Yeah. But
Keep it
Jack,
real.
as Louie was answering that, I would say that's why most organisations fail at it, because there's no fun, and they're trying to be so inclusive that they're like, oh, we couldn't do that. Like, just even when you said have a beer, it was like, oh, well, what about the people that don't drink? I was like, oh my God. Or I was like, what? And so they're like trying to have 100% inclusivity. And then therefore it just ends up, not really being for anyone. They're trying to be for everyone, which means you're not for everyone.
Which is, again, when you stand for something, you will also stand against something, and you won't be for everyone, and that's okay. Know who your tribe is, or your audience is. You know who your community is, Louie, and they're really diverse. That's very clear. They're all ages, they're all genders, they're all bloody nationalities, and they've all got different sort of wants. I keep thinking about our keepers, Rahl, who are listening to this. It feels like a lovely little chat between us three, but we've got keepers that are listening in. And I know that our keepers work in mainly corporate environments, where there's layers and layers of process, Louie, and like the stuff I used to do in banking. And those layers of process are there for a reason. You have to move fast, with INTVL, you and Hess. You're testing, you're building, you're posting, you're adjusting all the time. What's one mindset shift that you think corporate leaders need to adopt from your generation, particularly and as entrepreneurs, to move faster and to be able to, do things without losing control? What's a mindset shift for them?
Oh, I think it's just stop trying to be so perfect, and that's easy to say, but speed of anything is the key. Speed of posting for content is the key. Like, I had Sam Guggenheimer on my podcast. And she's an influencer in Melbourne, and she is the most relevant person I think I've ever met. Like, every clip we uploaded, just thousands of comments, hundreds of thousands of views straight away. And I was asking her about, what's your kind of process with posting content? And she says she thinks of it, she says it, and she uploads it, puts the phone down, and then on to the next. Doesn't even think. Now, tough to do if you're a business, but you can kind of take that a little bit and apply that to your areas. I think is, that's the world we live in. And I think as well, I'm in the space of running, and a lot of these professional runners are unable to break through on social media when very average runners, even bad runners, are able to break through on social media. And it's like, why is that happening? And the reason is because the professional runners are still flat out trying to do these professional look, we're so perfect, we're running these crazy times, breaking records. No one actually cares about that. Everyone wants to see behind the curtain. So if you can kind of break through like that and show someone behind the curtain. Now, being able to apply that to a corporate sense can be difficult. I'll let your imaginations run wild on that front because I'm not totally involved in it. But I think the behind the curtain and speed of posting or speed of getting something done is the key. And that's why small businesses will start to, engulf the big ones.
So that's about not overthinking it. And also, again, being real and therefore you are being relevant and moving quickly and moving on. I suppose, there's got to be some risk or risk mitigation. So whilst you might not overthink it, the ability to be able to perhaps mitigate or manage should there be a flare up, but then again, move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see some CEOs at the moment like doing the more raw video where it's not the polished version. But, even a CEO, right, they've probably still got to get everything approved from bloody corporate affairs and you just lose. And so I think that like what people really want is behind the scenes. I think that's a really good insight. And it's even we talk about corporations, it's still people. Like, so, it could be, but instead of the polished thing, you could have several people doing this is what my life. So good.
And people can see through the bullshit now.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you can't get away with it anymore. I mean, what's the point in dropping thousands of dollars, probably even hundreds of thousands in the corporate world on content packages and stuff where it's this, elevator music in the background and, a happy family, walking through the, saying this is what we do. It's like people scroll next. Don't even bother spending that money. Put that into, into something else. You'll get more value out of it.
Yep. Great.
Yeah. Hey, I've got one more question, Raoul, and I think this
Jack,
is a good
go
one
for
for our keepers. Louie, if you were the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of a major bank, let's just say, okay, we're going to make you CMO of a major bank, and your brief is to attract 18 to 29-year-olds, what would you do first? What's the first thing you would do?
Oh, it's a good question. First thing I'd do
is take my T-shirt off.
Yeah, that's the start. Get oiled up.
Get oiled up.
Now they're listening. Well, that is the start. I think I think you tap into whatever they're interested in straight away. If that's going out drinking, could be going sports, could be fitness and health.
Yeah,
but just trying to tap into.
No one's drinking
at the moment. It is, just trying to tap into that market where possible. I think as well, looking into how other companies, even smaller ones, have done it with like affiliate marketing programs and getting people bought in a sense that they feel part of something. I know like a perfect example is Runner, which is a running app that just kind of sold to Strava. They operated they ran one of the best affiliate marketing processes that has ever been done, where every influencer felt like they had a piece or a share of Runner.
Wow.
And they were so much more likely to promote content around that, and the content always broke through because the influencer was able to actually do that in a sense, in a way that they wanted to, and with a whole heap of creative license. So I'd probably create some kind of affiliate marketing process if that was possible.
Wow. Tap into the zeitgeist, tap into what's culturally the thing for as many 18 to 29-year-olds, and then follow that. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Good answer.
Great insights, Louie. We always end with a question. We've sort of probably spoken about this in and off, but how do you keep it real? Besides having a mother like Jack, how do you keep it real?
Yeah, she certainly keeps it real for me. I think in the world of creating content, and when you've been in it for a while, the best thing that I've done to keep it real is have friends who are not in that space, and have people and individuals around me who don't give a shit about a follower, a like, or the amount of views you got. And that has been the reason I think I've been able to stay relatively real and not fall into this kind of sphere of worrying about all that stuff all the time. So a good family and a good friends. It is cliche, but it's been the key for me for keeping my head in this hot environment.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Well, we'll have all the notes in the show notes about your podcast on it, off it, and the INTVL app. If we've got some listeners like Jack that want to go from 0 to 5Ks or whatever, that we'll have that all in the show notes. So thank you for being part of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. Thank you for supporting us, and good luck with whatever comes next in your journey.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. Loved it.
Well done, Louie. Love you, darling.
Okay, keepers, hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jack's favourite son. As usual, if you like it, give us a rating and share it with friends. And don't forget, if you want to get access to bonus episodes, masterclasses, book club, our next book we're reviewing is called Culpability, and so that is only for our Patreon subscribers. So early access, bonus episodes, masterclass, get over and support us and you will get the best professional development ever. So until next time, we will speak to you then.
You've been listening to another episode of Keeping It Real with Jack and Raoul. If you like what you've heard, don't forget to tell others about it and give a 5-star review. They may seem confident, but they really are sensitive 5-star needy souls. Yeah, right. Keeping It Real, created by Jack Phillips and Gabriel Dolan. Produced by Keehlan Ferrari-Brown. And this really real voiceover, spoken by Richard Phillips.